Assalamu alaikum. Hi, this is Adnan with IslamicBookstore.com, and I'm pleased to introduce our latest book, or one of the latest books we carry on our website. It's called The Flying Man Aristotle and the Philosophers of the Golden Age of Islam, Their Relevance Today by Akbar Ahmed. And our code number for this book is 14101, 14101. And it just published this year, 2021. And basically the author, Akbar Ahmed, he's a former ambassador from Pakistan. After his government service, he did a few other things. He's written plays. He's a professor. He taught at Harvard. And currently he's teaching at American University in Washington, D.C., and he's based in the U.S. these days. So in this book, he goes into basically he'll get into the golden age of Islam, which is about the 9th through the 13th centuries, and he is describing that era from the vantage point of the philosophers, the big Muslim philosophers of that time, who were quite influential. They include Ibn Sina, Al-Ghazali, Ibn Rushd. These are the main three. And then through them, he also shows how they influenced some of the top Western philosophers who took those Muslim philosophers' teachings and expanded upon them or commented upon them. Those two were Maimonides in the Jewish tradition and St. Thomas Aquinas in the Christian tradition. And one of the goals of this book was to basically kind of show how a lot of Western thought, Western civilization, some of its foundations and its advancement after the 13th century is based upon, those two Western philosophers and how they learned a lot from the Muslim philosophers. So it kind of gives you an idea that what the Muslims or the Islamic world, how it, you could say indirectly helped in the development of the Western world. And the author also, in a modern context, tries to indicate maybe we can learn from the methodology of these, of these geniuses, these Muslim geniuses of the, after the 9th, 10th, 11th, this era, those centuries. So this book is kind of intended for Muslims to read and reflect on, as well as non-Muslims to appreciate the history and some of the ways that Western civilization grew out of learning from the Muslims. So it's a nice book. I actually read the whole thing. The author does a nice job, although philosophy can be a heavy topic. If you read Ibn Sina or some of these other authors, they can get kind of esoteric, some of their vocabulary, but the author's kept this one very simple. It's very superficial in that respect. However, he does a good job of just kind of explaining some of those Ibn Sina and Ibn Rushd, some of their beliefs and how often they were persecuted, or a lot of the you may call orthodox ulama or traditional ulama had a problem with some of their teachings. He goes into some of the differences between the philosophers themselves. Imam Ghazali was a philosopher, but he had a lot of issues with, several of the teachings and conclusions of Ibn Sina. And so he does a good job of just kind of introducing, a reader to the topic. It's a nice, easy to read book. It's about, it's 124 pages. It's about 5 by 8. And overall, a nice book to just get introduced kind of to the influence of that these philosophers had when Islam was a dominant civilization. And the author uses it, for bridge building, as well as maybe to maybe convince some Muslims, okay, hey, you can take lessons from how these philosophers, made judgments, made rulings. Ibn Sina, Ibn Rushd, to some extent, they wanted to merge in a sense revelation and reason, meaning bring both of them into the decision making, the law making, the judicial process. Imam Ghazali was a little more traditional, and he wrote a book, and that's for another video, where he kind of refuted a lot of the teachings of Ibn Sina. Ibn Rushd actually did the same thing to Imam Ghazali, but that's for another time. But it's definitely an interesting book, especially because of the way it's written. It's easy to read, easy language, and you can get a good introduction to the material. So that's our book that we're carrying. Again, our code number is 14101 on IslamicBookstore.com. And look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.